the Atonement. It is the most important single thing that has ever occurred in the history of created things. Elder Bruce R. McConkie. Mosiah 26, verses 22 through 23. For behold, this is my church, and whosoever is baptized shall be baptized into repentance. And whomsoever you receive shall believe in my name, and him will I freely forgive. For it is I that taketh upon me the sins of the world, for it is I that created them, and it is I that granteth unto him that believeth unto the end a place at my right hand. I meditate on this a little bit. I think about it and I ponder, what does he mean by that? I take upon me the sins of the world, for it is I that created them. What did he create? He didn't do any sins, but he created you and me, and we sinned. So we are his creations, and his creations were imperfect and sinned. And he was really something special, because he took upon himself the sins of his creations, and that's you and me. Now the last week before the crucifixion, the triumphant entry. Here's Christ entering Jerusalem on a donkey, and he's accepted by hundreds and hundreds of people as the Messiah. So he started out that week, people falling in line. They're understanding who he is and his position, and they're honoring him thereunto. And now on the night before the crucifixion, we have a picture of Christ with the 12 apostles in the upper room. Now you know what was going on in that upper room? These 12 apostles that had been wandering around with him for 3 years were arguing among themselves as to who was going to be the Secretary of State, who was going to be the treasurer. Yes, the quorum of the 12 that night at the Last Supper had no idea what was coming off. Christ knew, and he told them, but they didn't want to hear it. They were still arguing among themselves as to who was going to be what in this kingdom that Christ was going to set up. And at that meeting, he served them by washing their feet. Christ's mission was a total mission of service. He's teaching them a lesson of service. And then Christ went into the Garden of Gethsemane, and there by himself took upon himself the sins of not only this world, but of an infinite number of worlds. We have no idea, we have no comprehension of the suffering that he went through in the Garden of Gethsemane. Doctrine and Covenants 19:18. Which suffering caused myself, even God, the greatest of all, to tremble because of the pain, and to bleed at every pore, and would that I might not drink the bitter cup. Christ was a free agent. He did not have to go through what he went through. He asked the Father, is there another way around this thing? Do we have to do this? He says, but not my will, thy will be done. What if he had failed? What if he had exercised his free agency? Leon Skousen maintains that if Christ had exercised his free agency and did not go through with the atonement, everything would have reverted back to its pre-organized, chaotic state. Now I ponder on that statement for a minute. How could that be? If Christ did not go through with the atonement, everything would have reverted back to its pre-organized, chaotic state. Then I ask myself this question. If this is so, is there some kind of an eternal link between the Big Bang and the atonement? A thought. Now we have him a little later, standing in front of Pilate. If you were there that day and you had the power to convince Pilate to avoid the crucifixion, your word is going to change it, what would you do? knowing who Christ is and what his mission is, you have to say crucify it. You have to say crucify it. And Christ was good enough that he did not allow the apostles to understand that he must go through with this thing. So Christ underwent the scourging. Why did he undergo the scourging? Why did he allow that to happen? Yes, it was painful. You and I can relate to the scourging, to the whipping. You and I can relate to the cross, to the crown of thorns. We can relate to the nails driven through the hands and through the wrists and through the feet. We can relate to the beating. We know that hurt. Do you know, that was nothing compared to the real suffering that he went through. He did this so that we can have an inkling of an idea, the price he paid for you and me.